Hi, I'm Chris Simon. I'm an attorney here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I practice civil law. The purpose of this video is to explain to you some of the important new uninsured and underinsured motorist legal changes that went into effect on January the 1st, 2009. First, we're going to discuss how the old law was, then we're going to discuss how the new law is. Under the old law, a Georgia motorist who was struck by somebody, the at-fault driver, and the at-fault driver had $25,000 in coverage, which is the minimums in Georgia. And if the motorist that was injured had $25,000 in uninsured motorist coverage, the only thing they could seek to recover would be the amount of coverage held by the other driver, the $25,000. The reason is that their own $25,000 policy is in the shadow of the insurance held by the driver. Now, there were a couple of key exceptions having to do with Medicare and certain other liens, but for purposes of this tape, it's important to know that if you did not have more uninsured motorist coverage than the at-fault driver, there was nothing more you could recover. The good news is, under the new law, you're going to be given the option to select what we call stacking coverage. You'll have three choices. The first, and of course most expensive choice, is stacking coverage, and I highly recommend that you get this kind of coverage. You'll be receiving a mailing from your insurance company over the next few months, and I would strongly suggest that you pick this coverage. This coverage means that if you are hit by an at-fault driver and you are injured, and that driver has $25,000, and you have $25,000 in uninsured and underinsured coverage, but you have the stacking variety, then if your injury is serious enough, you have the ability to access the $25,000 from the bad guy and the $25,000 from your uninsured motorist. Your uninsured motorist coverage, in effect, stacks on top of their coverage, and that's a fantastic new option, but only if you decide to exercise it. The second choice you're going to have on the form is for the plain old kind of coverage that can sit in the shadow of the at-fault party's coverage. I would dissuade you from doing that, and the worst choice of all, of course, is not getting uninsured motorist coverage. Most collisions that I see are caused by drivers with either no insurance or $25,000 in minimum coverage. If you have a compound fracture to your leg, to your arm, if you're dealing with a very serious injury, that's just not going to be enough insurance coverage to compensate you for the bills and for what you're going to go through. So, even though you might be thinking, I'm going to save a little money on my premium, that's being penny wise but pound foolish. Now, there's a couple of other things about uninsured motorist coverage that are important to know. If you do have a serious injury, you do want to call a personal injury attorney. Why? You, in most cases, only have 30 to 60 days to give notice to the uninsured motorist carrier to tell them that you've been in a collision and that you've been hurt. If you don't do that, and say you wait a year and finally get about to going to a lawyer, you may come to find out that your failure to notify your uninsured motorist carrier has voided your coverage. They are allowed under the contract the right to investigate and look at the circumstances. So keep in mind that that's one of the key reasons why hiring a lawyer for a serious case is something you want to do early on. The second thing the lawyer can do for you is this. We're very good at finding other coverages that might stack together. For instance, say you're 24 years old and living with your parents temporarily, you, as a resident relative, are an additional insured on their policy under Georgia law. So that would be an example of a situation where we could take your parents' underinsured coverage and stack it upon yours, creating more coverage for you for the loss. I hope this video has helped you. If you should have any questions, please visit my website, www.christophersimon.com. Thank you.